independence, gold mining, and perhaps even cocoa are features that are attributed to the country, Gold Coast. Now, post-independence, gold mining and cocoa again have played significant roles in establishing the economy as we know it. Um, their contributions can't be underestimated. However, as with many things that haven't necessarily gone the way we would have wanted it to go after independence, I think
You know, those of us born long after independence have come to realize that the menace that illegal mining causes is far-reaching and with very deep consequences.
for our country. In fact, the most worrying part of all of this that I would perhaps highlight later in my submission is the fact that the benefits that the communities where the material gold is produced or is found have not necessarily benefited the way we would have expected them to. But most importantly, the country as a whole hasn't derived the revenues that we would have expected to derive from the resource. And I think that is of concern to everybody, myself and yourself included. In the last few years, we are aware the efforts by the government and the president to get things in order, to put things back where they should be. Most importantly, because it will help us sustain our environment and also ensure that the mining sector becomes well aligned and well established, the way that we would want a sector that generates key revenue for this country to be. So it's not a happy place for the country at the moment to hear and see that these efforts have somewhat generated some more controversy and haven't necessarily um, brought the results that we would have desired to see today. And so all of us are really concerned. I think that it is not a matter to be left only for those within the political circles, but everybody, because the future of this country also is hinged on the environmental impact that this situation is sort of leading us to. And we'll all have to consider it as a matter of urgency and a matter of key concern.
Mm. So I get from your submission that you're actually alluding to the fact that mining is very much a part of uh, Ghana as
It is.
as a country, and so
Absolutely.
it is not something that we can just wish away, but we are going to have to find ways and means by which we will make it sustainable. Over some, there's been commentary about the fact that it is only until recently, maybe 20, 30 years ago, that we have seen mining having a devastating impact on our communities. People say that prior to the beginning of the Fourth Republic, there was mining going on in Ghana, but we were not complaining about our water bodies getting affected. So, the last 30 years, from where you sit, what has accounted for this sudden dramatic impact on our environment, water bodies, and what have you? What did we do wrong within this period?
Wilberforce, I think that we should look at this if we want to be very effective in looking at this situation vis-a-vis the last 20 years or perhaps in the Fourth Republic. I think it's important to look at other social ills that have come about because of perhaps things that we may not have necessarily done, appropriately, things that we may not have necessarily done, appropriately, or may have underestimated the potential to overrun us, even as far back as the early 90s in school, in primary school. The word galamsey has always been in some textbooks. Yes, it didn't have these impacts, but so did our land situation. I mean, areas such as Ashalibutri and other places didn't have such growth in numbers with regards to
Residences and commercial areas and all that. Um, Many areas have been impacted in this country, or many sectors have been impacted because of
many reasons such as globalization, population increase, and many other factors. But most importantly is the fact that I think as a country, there are moments when our planning, our way of looking at things that will happen in the future, perhaps arrives before we expect it to arrive, and so we are not always ahead of the curve, and this is not necessarily a problem to do with just government alone. I'm talking about the country as a whole, as a people. I would say that if you think of COVID, for example, a lot of companies now started to look at things differently because a situation has arisen that nobody expected to have such impact. So for me, we haven't necessarily sat aloof to watch necessarily, but events sometimes overrun, a nation if things are not looked at in a certain way, or if plans are not executed on time. I think that efforts or the focus should rather be on, the way forward. How are we going to work this out? How are we going to, redirect our strengths and our energies? Oftentimes, the sensationalism that comes with these sort of events might lead us to spend more time talking about who did and who didn't, what happened and what didn't happen. So yes, we can go into a tall list of that, but importantly, we need to look at why we are here and where we need to go from here.
So yes, it's important. It's good that you talk about we focusing on the future, and it brings me to this question: the question of politicization of the issue about Galamsey. And I like listeners to know that this is the forum, and we're speaking with my first guest, Charles Clerk. He's a consultant and also a political analyst. My other guests have signaled that they are on their way, and I've seen one of them pulling over at our car park. So very soon they'll be here so that we can have the holistic conversation. All right, but to quickly talked about the issue of politicization. It would appear to me, at least being a journalist and hearing the sides and the communications that have been going on, that the most dangerous aspect of this whole issue of Galamsey is the politicization of it. Well, yes. So one of our guests has walked in, and so let him catch his breath. But let me come to you again, Charles, and for you to tell us this issue about politicization. What do you make of it? It certainly is not the way forward to fight this issue about Galamsey.
Of course, I mean, and it's worrying in many other issues that arise like that. So, in a country where you realize that positions are sometimes different when a party is in opposition, for example, you do realize that advantage seeking becomes part of the politics of the day. So if a situation like this arises where a report is all over the airwaves, or somebody makes a statement or a declaration or a revelation of that nature, the solutions that are supposed to be focused upon are lost upon us because one side begins to look at how it can seek advantage by harnessing that opportunity. And naturally, if you are in government, I mean, you would have to sort of deal with that issue, and that takes the entire country away from actually, pressing the solution button. And I believe that we've done that in many ways. I can give an example. There are many ills in our society. You walk in the street, you see issues that should be dealt with. I mean, a typical example I would have brought up later in our discussion is, when people build on waterways, for example. I mean, nobody gave them a permit. Nobody, sort of allowed them formally or officially. But when the authorities are trying to do the right thing to get them off, even though they should have made sure that didn't happen in the first place, when the right thing is going to be done, people scream out, and people try to look for which political line is going to align with us and support us in our cry to the government to listen to us. And at that moment in time, that problem doesn't get solved because, the moment one side says we support your action by being there, then obviously, that emboldens people to continue to do that. Like I said, when you're in government, that puts you in a very difficult position.
Very tight position.
Very tight position.
All right. So thank you for your submissions. And hold on. Joseph Dendiok Pemka, a former Deputy Attorney General, is here with us. Joe, what's up?
It's been a while.
Yes. It appears you have abandoned your Accra brother.
I will not, and I have never done that. I will never do it. I'm sorry about that.
Anyway. Yeah, he's my Accra brother. Even though he's from the north, I'm from Ashanti region. He's my Accra brother. And he has
responsibilities took us away from each other. So sorry about that. I know it won't be long. We will make up for all the ills.
It is well.
Anyway,
it is well.
By grace, we are fine.
Yes. It's good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Yes. And so quickly, a lot has been happening around.
Yeah.
And you, as a former Deputy Attorney General, you have handled a lot of matters of national interest.
That's true.
Galamsey included.
That's true.
Just quickly give our listeners a review of what you have made of all the brouhaha that has gone on before we zero in on specific matters. Some of the specific matters we are going to talk about has to do with an allegation against President Akufo-Addo by Professor Frimpong Boateng. Not against President Akufo-Addo, but the fact that his appointees, yes, and then again the fact that the president's own house in Chebi was being used as a mining site and all that.
That's an allegation.
Yes, an allegation, and
which has,
inquiries have been
now
done.
Has been completely thrown off.
Yes, but we are going to discuss them. But your quick thoughts about this whole issue, the approach that has been taken, whether or not we are on the right course dealing with the issues of Galamsey.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me say that the fight against Galamsey is going to be more difficult than the fight against corruption. Let me say that the fight against Galamsey is going to be more difficult than the fight against corruption. But you see, my brother, very quickly, my preliminary remark on this matter is this, that what is in this particular endeavor of ours as politicians, what is the highest form of sacrifice you can make in order to fight a particular canker that is emerging in our democracy? I think it is to put your position on the line. That's the highest sacrifice you can make. The President of the Republic, looking for his second term, said he was putting his presidency on the line to fight Galamsey. Those who are running commentaries, and with all due respect to everybody, those who have failed to be objective on this matter, do a quick run around the areas where we had Galamsey going on in the Western region and other parts of the country. Close to 90% of those seats were lost by the New Patriotic Party in the 2020 elections. What does that tell you? Does it tell you that the party was encouraging Galamsey? No. In fact, if there was clear complicity on our part, if we had decided to go quiet as a party and as a government, I believe that in the 2020 elections, we would have won in those areas. But the president put his presidency on the line and lost those areas. My good friend, Barbara Otinjesi, Pristia Uni Valley, one of the areas where Galamsey is so endemic, she lost by a very wide margin. And this was a very hard-working MP and minister.
Some people said that she lost beautifully.
Absolutely, and it was all because of Galamsey. Duka, my good friend, Takwa Nswaim, he escaped narrowly. It was because of Galamsey. When you go to the three other constituencies where you have the former MP who is now at Kokobot, Amenfi East, Amenfi West, Amenfi Central, we lost all. Ask yourself, if we were not fighting Galamsey, what was the reason why we lost in Galamsey areas? The answer is very obvious. So my preliminary remark is that indeed there was a fight which was waged relentlessly against Galamsey. That is the reason why the New Patriotic Party paid for it in the Galamsey endemic areas. Now, if you look at the other general issue of individual responsibility, we can never run a perfect society. So even in the fight against any ill that we have in society, there may be some people who will still be promoting it. Look, one of the most controversial things, which we are not discussing this morning, is the LBQT, whatever.
LGBTQ, RST, UVW, XYZ.
Whatever it is. But there are people, we are fighting. Look, there seems to be unanimity in the fight against that. But there are people, intrinsically, they are supporting it. Some of them are using surrogates and agents to fight it, but they cannot come out themselves. So everything that is manifesting itself in this society of ours, there are people who will connive and condone those things, individuals. But those individual responsibilities and efforts should not be taken as one that is collective of all of us. So if the president decided to put his presidency on the line, and you have seen videos, I have decided that today I'm not going to do any much politics, but just look at the facts. I have seen videos in which somebody, as a candidate, went to a Galamsey site and gathered all of them and told them that if Mama wins on the 7th, you all come and do your work and earn your living. The videos are there. These are not allegations. And nobody has denied those videos. And former president himself said it. He said when he comes to power, those who have been incarcerated because of Galamsey will be released. It wasn't in a room he said it. He granted an interview to the media. What is the implication from that? Anybody engaged in Galamsey will say that definitely this is a Galamsey friendly person. Let me vote for him. That's a fact. This is a Galamsey friendly person. He says all those who have been incarcerated because of Galamsey, when I come, I'll free them. And if those who are out there will say, okay, it means this man is by our side, so let's vote for him. Is that the type of nation we want to build? When a particular government is fighting a canker, the opposition should be unanimously supporting the government in fighting that canker. So there are people who know that if there's a change of government, the fight, the way it is being done, will continue. So people run away from it. But if in government, your utterances in government, in fighting a particular canker, you don't have the support of the opposition, and they are saying the opposite thing, what are we doing to ourselves?
So that's the politicization,
absolute politicization
of the Galamsey that we are going to discuss into details, because we need to deal with that politicization of Galamsey. But you know, you made a point that the fight against Galamsey is going to be more difficult than the fight against corruption, and that scared me. It scared me because the fight against corruption has taken forever, and we have not been able to fight it. So if it's going to be more difficult, then it means that you are suggesting that perhaps the fight against Galamsey might not be won.
I have stated that without equivocation, and I want to repeat it today. It will be difficult to win the fight against Galamsey. That's my position. And I want to tell you, I have said it elsewhere, and I want to repeat it today, that we have underestimated and underreported the devastating effect of Galamsey in Ghana. We have underestimated it and we have underreported it.
Okay.
That's a statement of fact I'm telling you.
So
you see?
Yeah.
I like using my own place as an example. If you go to my constituency, the majority of the youth, about 80 to 90% of them are not at home.
Mention the name of the constituency.
Timpani constituency.
They
are not at home. In the Upper East region.
Upper East region.
There is no Galamsey going on in the constituency. But the youth have all migrated to the Galamsey areas. 90%, I am telling you, that's those who are not working. 90% of them have migrated to the Galamsey areas.
So which areas are the Galamsey areas in that enclave?
No, in the western region. They've rather gone down south to the west. The majority of them are at the western region, not up north. And you see why I keep saying that the fight will be difficult to win. When you take the soldiers, for example, and the police, you take them to water bodies, and you are trying to protect water bodies and etc. Even though every day the water bodies are being polluted. Deep in the forest, where you don't have a road going there and no soldier can go there, they are there doing it. And wreaking havoc on the environment with impunity, because no one will even get there. Look, somebody can walk 10 kilometers into the forest and engage in Galamsey. You will not have any idea unless you have a drone.
10 kilometers
into the forest,
into a forest,
and engage in Galamsey. And there is no access route. How are you going to fight the person? Unless you have drone pictures. Look, so I'm saying that we have underestimated and underreported this canker. Probably, if care is not taken, as many people have already said, we may begin to import water in years to come. And look, it's like, excuse me to say, in terms of economics, Galamsey appears to be like a low-hanging fruit for people to pluck. You know, so people say that, look, and one of the reasons why I said it's difficult to fight even than corruption is that with corruption, you find that the number of people who are managing our resources are far less than the number of people who are engaged in Galamsey. That's the difference. In fact, the people who are managing our resources in Ghana probably are just within those who have direct access to our resources to manage are just within the range of 5 to 10,000 people. But those who are engaged in Galamsey are in millions. Look, I said this.
Some of them known, some of them unknown.
Unknown. I said this, and let me repeat it.
Beneficial owners and all that.
Beneficial owners. We will come to that. And that is why when we were enacting the Companies Act in 2020, we had to bring in beneficial ownership to be able to reach out to those who shadow companies and stay far away and control and are the spirit and body of those companies.
So I
benefit from.
I think that act was passed in 2019.
Yes,
the Companies Act, the new one.
Yes, the new one.
Yes.
Yes,
you were involved.
I participated from the beginning to the end, and we brought in beneficial owner. When we even did consultation with the stakeholders, we all agreed that we had to bring in that because we realized that people were actually saying they are not part of the company, but in real fact, they were the spirit and masterminds of those companies. So if you look at the various things that we are talking about in the Galamsey areas, Eastern region, Western region, Ashanti, and other areas, at the rate at which we are going, if nothing drastic changes, I can anticipate that probably in 10 years, there will be no forest. In 10 years, there will be no water. What are we leaving as a legacy? But you see, Galamsey, you have the smaller fishes and then the bigger fishes. But it appears that, as I've always said, if you read Ayikwe Ama's The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born, he makes a statement in that book. He gives a story, you know, and he says that there's a fishing net in Ghana, a proverbial fishing net in Ghana. When you throw it into the sea, it successfully catches the smaller fishes. After the bigger ones, they pass through the holes. Mm-hmm. That appears to be some kind of, an abnormal situation, so to speak. But that is it. Because those we arrest are the helpless, hapless few who go there to look for the 1,000 cities and the 2,000 cities, maybe to go back to the house and buy fertilizer or do something. Those are the ones we pick. But those who make millions of US dollars from Galamsey are kings that we worship in society. That we give them high places to sit in church when we are doing a harvest. Those who really cause the environmental devastation beyond recovery are people who are in high places. It's a statement of fact. But the other thing I want to add quickly, I don't know whether we'll get there, is the issue of us, if not being careful too, we can hang innocent people. We can hang innocent people if we are not careful. And I have stated that when I read Prof's report, immediately something occurred to me. Because in some of those allegations that were made in that report, I found them to be without basis. And I have stated my position.
What are some of these? What are some of them?
Look, let me give you an example. Me, as I see today, my only means of earning livelihood is by being a private legal practitioner. I don't hold any position in government after 7th January 2021. I don't hold any position. I'm a private legal practitioner in my office with my young lawyers practicing, and that's where I earn a living. If somebody comes to me with documents registered at Registrar General Department and then documents covering a concession from Minerals Commission, and I review the documents as a lawyer and find that the documents all comply with law, and the person says, I want you to be my lawyer, and that my rights are being infringed upon, and I take a phone, and for example, I call, let's say, my good younger brother, very intelligent and hardworking minister, Abu Jinapo. I take a phone and call him. Abu, my client ABCD, who has all the documentation and etc., wants to go and engage in his mining, and you have stopped him. I want to know if there's anything that we can do about it, if we can have a conversation about this, and then allow them to do the work because they have the document. Now, how does that become interference in your work? I'm just responding to the issue of Gabi Asare Otundaku. How does that become an interference? If I, as a lawyer, I call my brother, I mean, we are all members of the same party. I call you and say that by my review of these documents, this person has all the documents. So I want to talk to you to find out how to resolve this issue to allow them to work. And that's how we make our living anyway. How does that amount to interfering with the fight against Galamsey? How? I had a lot to say about that issue, but unfortunately, because it has gone into court, I'm caught by the principle of sub judice. You know, because sometimes some of the things don't actually add up. Look, if I want to malign a minister as a government appointee, I want to malign another minister, do I need to go and hold a conference with press men in a room to tell them how to malign the minister? Some of the things don't make sense. I go to Dodowa Forest Hotel with journalists and tell them that, look, I've called you here for us to devise a plan to destroy a particular minister.
So it's not.
Where does that happen?
It's not just journalists, but it is journalists who are drawn from media houses who are aligned to NDC and MPP.
How do you do that? So in the end, are you of the thinking that all those who are there are daft, and you have recruited and commissioned them to go and destroy someone? Nobody will do that. I will not hold brief for Honorable Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah, but I don't think that with the level of intelligence I know that young man to execute, he will do any such thing.
So from what you said as a
some of the
lawyer,
allegations we are making against individuals,
and I'm coming to you, Mr. Jantua, very soon. So for you as a lawyer, do you think that some of these things that have been written constitute libel when you look at the laws of defamation?
yes, you know, because the criminal libel has been repealed, so most of them are defamatory, and that is why we will begin to see more actions from people. You know, it is very easy to make categorical statements against people, but when you are pushed to make to repeat that before a court and get witnesses to buttress it for us, for the court to be convinced that you are making a good case, you'll be found wanting, and you will see the outcome of some of the suits that are being issued, highly defamatory things. So in making comments about people, especially where it had the tendency of destroying the person's reputation, you need to calculate it carefully. Because all that any person has in this world is his reputation anyway. And when it is taken away from you, are just but a piece of walking entity that is nothing else in this world. So I want to actually say that the good old Prof, one of the most respected persons by all standards. Some of us would like that when we grow old like him, our legacy should be like his or more. But a very budding past, a very interesting past, a very, good past can end in a very disastrous manner if slips are made towards the end.
So we'll talk about the professor a little bit more later in the program, and that's because you know that someone petitioned Strige, and I've seen the 117-page Strige report about a petition actually saying or actually suggesting that he was in a conflict of interest situation, serving as a minister for environment, science, technology, and innovation because he was also involved in mining prior to coming to office. Yeah. Yes, they exonerated him in one breath,
yes,
and then in the other breath, yes, they said there were issues to be dealt with.
Yes.
Okay, so Ms. Jantua, as you take your seat, I know Charles wanted to react to what Pemka was saying. So quickly submit your reaction, and then I'll come to Ms. Jantua to make his substantive argument. But before, say again. I said it twice. Okay, I just wanted you to take your seat. But Charles, just before you go on with your submission, we have this video of former President John Mahama, when Pemka talked about the issue about politicization of the fight against Galamsey. Let's just take a listen to what former President John Mahama said with regard to the Galamsey issue, and then we will continue with the conversation.
Omochi omo Galamsey no omo atu omumu yebema omo amnesty no omo asaba ezu lojidi se emrebia omo fomie omo enu omo ho enti yebe yi omo na yama omo another chance.
All right, so that is former President Muhammad speaking on one of the campaign platforms, talking about issues of Galamsey and releasing people and all that. So on Facebook, our Facebook constituency have started their things, and so there is Nina, and he says that nice seeing Charles Clerk, and he's a sharp guy. Okay, Charles, so you have some shout out there. Someone says that he knows you're a sharp guy. Okay, so Kojo Asempa Furniture, who is a part of Asasi Radio, as usual, is listening to us. Kojo, thank you very much for choosing Asasi Radio. And then Salifu Fuseni is also there. He is also a special person here at Asasi Radio. He is sending a shout out to some friends that he has and knows. Please, Salifu, send me a question and a comment about the Galamsey discussion we're having, and leave the former Agric Minister, Dr. Uzu Ifiakuto, alone. Okay. All right. And then there's Pokwasi Festus, and he says that the recent political brouhaha coupled with social media then over allegations cited in Professor Frimpong Boateng's report on Galamsey can only come to an end if the case is thoroughly investigated with culprits made to face the full rigors of the law. So yes, that is Pokwasi Festus, and he again says that Professor should be made to answer why he sat aloof for his alleged anomalies to go on unattended to for long at the peril of the country's economy and the environment that probably he was asked to protect. There is also Sheriff. He says, just good morning, Sheriff. Good morning to you. And then there is Maxwell Apia Dankwa, who says that my senior brother, Mr. Jantua, will by all means disagree with Pemka. I don't know why Maxwell is fighting you this early morning like this, but you have not even opened your mouth, and Maxwell is already fighting you. And then there is also Edu Graham Bannerman, who also sends a shout out to you, Charles. So Charles, it looks like people are happy that you are here. Okay, let me hear your reaction quickly, and then I'll come to Mr. Johnson.
So I wanted to also add a couple of things. I think what Joseph was saying pretty much aligned with the things I was saying earlier. But to add to that, I wanted to say that, when you think about, you mentioned the LGBTQ situation, you realize that there are calls all over the place for the president to make a declaration of where he stands, right?
He has already done that.
Good.
Like long ago.
Yes. Now, but you keep hearing people talk about want to hear everybody wants to be a president or to lead the country to, state their stand about this situation. The president made a very clear declaration about his views and his stand about the illegal mining. And Joseph clearly stated what the president had said, that he was going to put his seat on the line if that's what it takes to get this thing sorted out. I'm wondering why we are not seeing media houses and other persons who are calling for, declarations by persons who want to lead the country, with respect to the matter of the LGBT issue, not doing the same when it comes to illegal mining.
Also stating their position.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because if these are the issues that are national and of a national character and are of a bothering nature to the people of the country. So if that is the case, then let's hear everybody, sort of come out clearly to say, I don't support it. I won't, allow that to happen under my tenure. Whoever wants or thinks that this country will do well under their care should make that declaration, in my opinion.
Okay, Mr. Chancellor, so you are going to have to disappoint Maxwell by not disagreeing with Mr. Pemka. I don't think you disagree with him.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to our listeners and viewers. Let Maxwell, and you see, this is the mistake a lot of people make. Let Maxwell know that I'm a politician. I belong to a political party. My good brother, Council, is also a politician. He belongs to a particular party. My junior lawyer here, Ni, also belongs to a political party. Maybe it is Charles.
Oh, I think he also belongs to a political party.
Also, but I don't know.
Yes, we all don't know.
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay.
But we are all, the three of us are all active politicians. And if you've seen my rhetoric, if I have to agree with you, I'll agree with you. If I find it's different. That's why all these five fingers are not the same. But let me start, if you permit me.
I do.
to wish my mother a happy 93 birthday.
Wow.
93rd?
93.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Today?
Blessed with-
Is it
Mrs.
today?
It was this week.
Okay.
Wow.
Mrs. Constance Jantua.
Blessed with many, many grandchildren from Mr. Jantua.
93.
Yes.
93 years.
Yes. My father died.
That's amazing.
My father died at 102. My
Wow.
mother is 93, so that's fine. I'm grateful for her life.
But how many grandchildren from your side?
One. One.
Oh, really?
One. That's what you
The
want to
known
hear.
ones.
The declared ones.
There's a young ones too.
Secondly, this week we've lost a legendary, someone who brought a lot of joy to people since the 50s and 60s. Harry Belafonte.
Right.
He died this week.
What's the name?
Harry Belafonte. Yes, Harry
okay.
Belafonte. He died at 96.
I'm too young to know that name. So I'll not pretend like I do.
Go and listen to his music. Coconut Woman. Beautiful music. We lost him too. So
Mr. Jantua is taking us way
that is-
back.
that is- sometimes we
Mr.
have
Jetta, what does coconut woman mean?
Coconut
Coconut
Woman. It's a
Woman.
song.
Okay.
It's a song. I play for you.
The way you kept emphasizing coconut woman.
No, it's one of his best
Is
songs.
it the color?
Coconut Woman.
Ni is up to mischief once.
It's always up to me.
Is it coconut shape or coconut? Is it where it's going?
Yeah, it's good. That's a very poisonous mind. This
Where's
one.
nose?
That's on the lighter side. What's the gentleman's name?
Max.
He says our what?
He actually says happy birthday to your mother. So
He's a fan. He's a fan.
I think one of the
Willoughby.
people who are going to be pushing the ticket, the nominations are out,
This ticket.
and we're actually paying 500,000 CDs.
No, it's
The-
450.
Yeah, but you are paying 500.
Why am I
show
paying
your
500?
support. Okay.
You pay for me, right?
Okay, we'll talk about it.
You see?
You see, he knows the figure, which means that he has interest.
he has
Oh,
interest.
well, I mean, it's my party. I
Mr.
just
Jantua,
know-
please ignore Big Paco so that you can make your submissions.
Willoughby, we've all failed. We've all failed. We've all failed the Galamsey issue. And Professor Prempeh Boateng's expose, or should I say, document, has even shown us why we have failed. It's not the time to point fingers. It's the time to find solutions. And my counsel indicates that Galamsey is more serious than corruption. The two things that will sink this country is corruption and Galamsey. Hasn't corruption sunk this country? It has sunk the country, not even sinking. It sunk the country. Are you trying to tell me us going to IMF, corruption is not inside? That's what you're trying to tell me. Let's be honest. Corruption is not inside. When we bump up projects, is that not corruption? And is it only in the upper part? It's right through the value chain to the last man. To the last man. So we've all failed. President, former president, institutional heads, we've all failed. Because is it the Pra River? Is it the Pra River that they shoot the water?
Oh, yes,
Or the
several
brim,
of them, yes.
or the brim.
I think it's Pra.
Pra.
Yes.
Pra, once upon a time, the water was looking like this bottled water. Then it came to orange juice. Today is abunobunum coin. When you look at the color of the water, it's gone even worse. So have we won? Let's stop all this. And this one said this, and this was spotlighted. Let's find a solution to this problem as a country, as a nation, as one unit, and stop the politics. It's not helping any of us. It's not helping those in the areas. It's not helping anybody. Look, this week, NDPC, they have started the Human Capital Development Strategy. And I've been put on that board through AGI. And when we're inaugurating it this week, you know what the DG said? He said, education. The difference in education between the North and the South is 11 years.
So I
11
want to
years.
understand it better. Suggesting that there's a gap.
There's a gap.
Okay.
The gap between education, the North and South, 11 years. What even surprised me was that 8 million people in Ghana cannot read or write. 8 million.
Out of a population of 31 million
Yes.
or 32 million.
So,
yeah.
so 8 million. How much of that 8 million, how many of that 8 million are youth? How many? Future of this country. And we are sitting there bickering about what? A document that has come out. Huh? And we are not finding solutions. Look, one of the major challenges of Galamsey is the fact that we can't enforce the laws. Period. We can't enforce the laws.
Some say that it is the politicization of it.
It's all part and parcel of it. The politicians know that we can't enforce the law, so they go on and do it. Who buys the escalators? Have we tried to discover who buys the escalators to take into these areas? But how did I say it? Escalators. Okay. Sorry. Excavators. Thank you. You see, I'm human like everybody. Excavators. Who buys those excavators? Who hires those who drive the excavators? Who pays those who drive the excavators? Who pays the young people in the areas who go finding a job to do what they're doing? Once upon a time, we were doing small-scale mining, weren't we? What were we using? We were using normal implements. We respected the water body, so we didn't go into the water body. The Chinese came in and said, we have machine, FPSO, for dredging, what do you call it, gold. We can make you find FPSO, teach you how to build it. And we, as stupid and silly as we are, we didn't question them. We say, you don't go on the water body. That is our livelihood. And we jumped in with them. And what do we see now? We have been able to make a province in China rich from gold from this place. The vice president went to Dubai some time ago, didn't he? Huh? And what did he tell us? He said when he got there, they said they had imported 8 billion worth of gold from Ghana. Officially. When we looked at the amount of gold that had been exported, we had earned only 2 billion. That's 6 billion. Where is it? How did that 6 billion get into the official channels? Who have we questioned? Have we questioned gas customs? Have we questioned immigration? Have we questioned forestry department? Have we questioned the mining people who give the licenses? We are all sitting and watching. Because
on this point, when my big brother finishes, I have a very important intervention.
Intervention. Okay, yes, you do that.
Significant point is making.
And so, who do we point a finger at? This Fourth Republic, all the presidents we've had, starting from President Kufuor, 2000 was President Rawlings.
So President Rawlings from 92 to 2001.
Okay. Yes. President Rawlings' time was there Galamsey when he started.
So people say that some of the analysts and readings I've made say that real Galamsey activity started at the beginning of the Fourth Republic. That would be 1992.
Okay.
And they are saying 30 years on, we are now feeling the impact, or we are now seeing, or we have now become conscious of the impact of what started from that time to date.
With the charisma, of Jerry Rawlings, the no-nonsense attitude of Jerry Rawlings, when it started, was he able to stop it? And then all the presidents that came after him, have they been able to stop it? And so it would be unfortunate, although he is part and parcel of that group, to point a finger at only one president. Let's point a finger at all of them, including those living and those dead. And that is where it should start from. That is where the presidents living, who have experienced Galamsey, to say, please, come, let's start with ourselves.
So that we have two of them. We have former President Ekufuor and former President Mahama.
Yes.
They are the two former presidents who are living.
Yes. Including the present. Let's start from that point and let the present show that olive branch. Two of you come. Let's sit around it. Just the three of us. Let's see how what we went through in terms of Galamsey, some of the things we didn't do and some of the things we did. Let's see how we can start fashioning a implementation policy to get this thing out of our country. Three of them. Put the politics aside. Put the partisanship aside. It's Ghana. Ghana. And let the three sit down. Irrespective of whether we like each other, irrespective if we don't like it. Look, in politics, you sleep with odd bedfellows. In politics, you sleep with odd bedfellows. Liman, was he a CPP man? When they brought Liman in, was he a CPP man? He wasn't.
He was what?
He was on the UP side. The UP side. And so, with such a national issue, two national issues, corruption and Galamsey, you see, corruption and Galamsey also involves the people who are being fueled by those who have the wherewithal to let it happen. We need to cut that lifeblood. And it will take leadership from, and let's start, and even apart from those three, those two, including the present president, you include the chiefs. And I'll continue saying, Osabarima Bonsu of Mampong, he says, look, anybody, and he's second in command where the Ashanti stool is concerned. When Ashanti is in there, he takes over. He has the silver stool of Ashanti. He says, I don't care whether Forestry Commission, whether Huan Huan gave you license. You are not bringing Galamsey into my district. Simple. You are not bringing Galamsey. Try it, and you will see what will happen to you. Go to Mampong and see whether there's Galamsey there. So the traditional leaders play a huge role. And the starting point is for these three presidents we have, including the chiefs, to sit down and fashion out. Now, once that is done, you then bring the security agencies in because they have to enforce the law. And you get to Parliament, for Parliament to look at the laws where there is gaps and where all that, to tighten the laws better. And then you bring the media in for the media to start talking about these things, and then you put implementation in place. Anybody try? Anybody try? Look.
So in other words,
look,
Mr. Johnson,
look,
you are suggesting
look,
that we have to take the bull by the horn to deal with this matter and not.
Let me read something from this report.
Okay, which report is this?
This is Frimpong Boateng's report.
Okay,
page 24, and I'll show you why we are losing the fight. The bit that says decisions to prosecute Chinese in Ghana, if I can read. From 2017 to early 2019, all Chinese nationals who were found to have engaged in illegal mining were arrested and immediately deported. This line of action led to the deportation of scores of Chinese. The policy was so effective that hundreds of Chinese nationals fled to other West African countries. The law seemed to be working there. The directive seemed to be working there. All the Chinese in Wasa Kropong, a town in the Wasa East District of the Western region, were either deported or fled. In May 2019, the president gave the directive that all foreigners, including Chinese, who were arrested, should face the Ghanaian justice system. Unfortunately, the law enforcement agencies could not ensure the successful implementation of that directive. How come? How come? Law enforcement agencies, they've given the directive, there are laws, you couldn't enforce it. I go on. Chinese who were apprehended doing illegal mining were taken to court, granted bail, and went straight to their mining sites to continue their illegalities. With time, the Chinese who fled came back, and Ghana is again hosting hundreds, if not thousands of illegal Chinese miners. It's in his report. Have we succeeded? Have we succeeded? And we are using this report as someone's personal what? Grievance. The issues in this report are real and true. And that's what we should be looking at. Not looking at the other things that have got to do with it. They are true. It's not happening. At least with Galamsey, my honorable brother counsel is saying that it will be difficult to get rid of Galamsey than corruption. I beg to differ. Galamsey, you can see it. Galamsey, you can see it.
Corruption cannot see.
Wait, Galamsey, you can see it. You can see the people. You can go there. You can apply technology. You can stop. This one, didn't he say that directive they gave a lot of Chinese people? You can see corruption. Can you see it? The magnitude of corruption. Can you see it? When it's going on, can you see it? You only hear about it after the people have done what they have to do and they've been made rich. How many corruption cases have we been able to prosecute in this country? Because there are a lot of complicit people in that value chain, right up to the top. So it's not of interest. I would have expected Parliament, Speaker, to put up a commission. Every politician, parliamentarian in the House who is involved in Galamsey, we are going to fish you out. That will be a fight coming from Parliament. Have we heard it? Are politicians in Parliament some not involved in Galamsey? Who has said anything? Who has said anything?
Okay, so
election.
But that is the point I'm making. That is the point I'm making. That is the point I am making. So if we all feel it is a canker and can sink this country, then the leaders of this country should take the baton. And once they take the baton, those underground in terms of the from bottoms up, we can also take the fight. But if you want to take the fight and the top are not doing anything, where's your locus? Where's your locus? Where is that critical mass? Where the media, you people started, where have you gotten to? Have you not abrogated that your thing you're doing to fight Galamsey? The media. Yeah, the fourth realm of the state. Have you not stopped? Even if the media alone decided to keep pushing it, wouldn't we have gotten somewhere by now? Wouldn't we have been able to put the powers that be on their toes? No, stop.
okay, friends of the media, Mr. Jantua is on your case this morning.
It's not. Look, you see, and this is where you probably don't get it. It is a fight for all of us. It's not a fight for one person. If is spoiling our cocoa farms, it's spoiling the land. So you would even find areas where you have manganese, you have bauxite, that people prefer to do Galamsey. But how much gold are they getting? How much? How much gold are they getting? And
Do you think that if they were not getting, they would have stopped?
they are getting
Yes, they are
how
getting.
much? Yes, and this is where the comment by the president in 2016 is real. It is Kaso Comte. This is where it's real. This is Kaso. Yes, Kaso. Don't we have gold? Don't we have bauxite? Don't we have manganese? Don't we have oil? Don't we have all different types? And today, God has blessed us again with lithium. Don't we have all? This is Kaso. It's to come DM because we are not managing the natural resources that is supposed to put this country where it's supposed to be because of corruption and once because of Galamsey.
Okay,
And
so
because
yeah.
let me end here. And because we have given these natural resources that Ghanaians should be the ones who are executing it, the foreigners.
Mr. Jantua, I have a comment here that
Alright.
says that what Mr. Jantua is saying is true. It says that, in fact, a judge is questioning the whereabouts of a Chinese national facing the Bekwai court for illegal mining. The Ghanaians are always arraigned, and the judge is saying that why is a Chinese person who was part of this not being arraigned? And so the judge is actually fighting the prosecution to ensure that at the Bekwai court they also bring the Chinese national to stand trial just as much as the Ghanaians are being arraigned. So that's a comment that somebody is just sending to here. I will refrain from mentioning the person's name for now. But
What just before I finish, what is the duty of the police? Tell me. What's the duty of the police?
so the police,
On order.
yes, the security of the interior.
Enforce the law.
Yes.
Are they doing it? When the soldiers were taken in to try and stop, and they started protecting the Galamseyers, what happened to them?
You mean the soldiers were protecting Galamseyers?
Yeah, oh, didn't you hear? Don't act as if you didn't hear.
So-
Don't play devil's advocate
No,
here.
I'm not playing
Is it
devil's
not true?
advocate. I'm only saying.
Is it not true?
So we
Did
have
we
to-
not hear? Did we not hear that was going on?
At least on one occasion, I've seen a video. It's a very popular video where soldiers were actually protecting Galamseyers. I mean, it's a very popular one. in the forest.
And
the forest.
And when the news team got there, one of your sister stations, the news team got there. What did they do? The people there, the soldiers there were calling big men.
yes,
And then other, what do you call senior security officers to give directives so that they will leave the place.
and
and that's a very serious matter.
It's there.
and
It's a
who is the commander in chief? Who is the commander in chief? Who advising the who is the finder? Who is advising
Don't
the
you think
commander
that-
in chief?
I don't think that it
So
would be too
if-
quick to
if-
jump
if-
to the
if-
commander in
Oh,
chief.
please, stop. This is why you get it wrong. This is why you get it wrong.
I am only
What
asking the
is
questions.
quick? What is quick?
I'm saying
Define
that there's a chain of command.
Huh?
So if there's a military officer who is seen on the ground protecting the Galamsey site, to effectively deal with it, you might have to start looking at it from the ranks. Because if you just jump from the ground to
Wait,
Yes.
wait.
The commander-in-chief was the
Wait,
first one,
wait. Oh, you people. Wait. The commander in chief has seen the video. I'm not saying the commander in chief should call the people doing it. No. The commander in chief should speak to those who are in charge of the armed forces and put fire underneath them. Tell them, your people, they should stop. Otherwise, we will take action. Let's see it. Let's hear it. Let the commander in chief come and tell Ghanaians, because he's a servant to Ghanaians.
okay,
And it's his responsibility
okay.
to make sure that whatever happens, he informs Ghanaians. Let the president come and tell us Sunday, 7 o'clock.
Okay, we haven't heard from Nico because Mr.
Came
Gatto
late.
has had
Came
Mr. Gatto
late.
has had the better part of the time for now. But Mr. Pemka,
What do you better part of the time for now?
that's all just I mean. I just mean that you had, yes, you've had the
presidential
but
candidate.
Pemka, you wanted to make an intervention just before I come to the yes.
he made a very significant point
as a president.
about export of gold. But we have as official figures and unofficial figures. He got it 1,000% correct. You see, Mr. Gentleman, I have a living example of this. A gentleman in our East, I happen to be his lawyer when I left the law school some 14, 15 years ago. You know what happened? He went to China and brought some Chinese companies from Shanghai to come and partner with him. That time, having this issue of people providing mine support services to local miners. It was by law. So he brought them as mine support. They established and realized that the place is demarcated for small scale mining. But it's very rich. You know what happened? With the support of state actors, the young man had 7% of the ownership of the concession. With the support of state actors, they pushed it out. Even when the partnership was still going on, just 2 years ago, Chinese, that company, were selling gold out of this country in huge quantities without notifying the partner. And the partner got wind, so he reported national security and busted them at the airport. With gold worth millions of USD. National security busted them and arrested them. What point am I making? If the report hadn't been made, the gold would have been set out. You have no idea how many of such cases happen every day at
every month from. If we had $40 million a month, would we go to IMF? That is why I'm saying it's Sikaso. It should come there.
No,
I
it
think-
is
I think-
institutional failure.
Yeah.
Some of the institutions that are supposed to
But you
enforce
see,
this and block them from exporting.
I think that
Yeah, Charles, yes.
in even
Yes, you will.
dissecting this or further surgically, you would also realize that I mean, and I agree with everything being said, especially with regards to the smuggling and how much is going out there and how much is left in here, how much is recorded, all of that. But you see, and I've got my views, my strong views about sometimes how some of the state actors, security services, reasons why they may or may not be successfully dealing with this situation. But even to look at our institutions that are supposed to regulate, the bodies that regulate, Minerals Commission, PMMC, even an institution like Cocoa Board, for example. If you think about the systemic or the gradual sort of weakening of some of these institutions, since they were established, perhaps in the First Republic, you would realize that over the time, over the period, these institutions have gotten perhaps weaker, but then some people have gotten wealthier,
And when you say some people, are you talking about some people who are within these institutions
No,
or
no.
outside the institutions?
people, some establishments that have actually operated within the sector,
Okay.
or these sectors, have grown more powerful, while these institutions have grown weaker. The question that we should be asking ourselves also is that, I want to be that concerned as citizens, and I'm asking that for a reason. I'll tell you the reason. If you think about the BOG, the Bank of Ghana, I mean, because everybody has their monies there, you would realize that we're all very concerned about anything that happens the Bank of Ghana is doing. If there's an announcement that something is happening in the sector, the whole country is on alert. Everybody's worried. If there's a Pyram 5 situation that occurred, everybody was worried about it. A repetition is about to occur in some of the scandals that occurred a few years ago. People are remembering the times when we had all these Ponzi schemes. We haven't been that kind of citizenry or that kind of country when it comes to our natural resources. If you think about, apart from Cocoa Board that has perhaps remained strong, an institution like PMMC hasn't had that strength for a pretty long time. Now, what is the mandate of the PMMC, for example? Has that been executed properly? Have we supported? Have we strengthened? Have we resourced? I mean, if you look in the write-up by the professor, he mentions the resources that, the Inspectorate Division at the Minerals Commission doesn't necessarily have, so they can't execute some of the jobs they need to execute. I mean, these are things that should concern us, because just like the police, if we are not able to resource the police properly, the job is half baked.
So you are talking about institutional strengthening.
Exactly.
And he thinks that institutional strengthening is one of the ways that has affected the fight against Galamsey.
Exactly.
They do whatever they want when they're there. They do whatever they want. The CEOs do whatever they want.
I mean, have we asked ourselves the regional and mining area centers that the PMMC used to have where they could buy the gold? I mean, their mandate really is to mop up these things. I mean, if
But
that was
so the gold for oil policy probably has, because I know it's the PMMC.
so that's one way of strengthening the PMMC.
Yes.
But we need a lot more, because see, if you think about Cocoa Board and why Cocoa Board has a central pivotal role, why Cocoa Board can do the things it does, why Bank of Ghana can do the things it does, it's because of strengthening of these institutions. If we leave it weak, part of the fight will be achieved, but the entire expectation of the results we are hoping for wouldn't be achieved, because we need these institutions to also stand on their feet. For me, one of the things that I worry about in this country is the fact that gradually, the state, as we expect it to be, is eroding, is getting weaker, and you realize that we have just government and people. So people don't trust the police, people don't trust this institution, that institution. All of these institutions we are talking about, they are state institutions.
Charles, let me tell you the danger. You know the danger? We will sit here, criminals will come in, take over, and they'll be dictating the politicians. That's the danger.
Okay, so the
danger.
institutional matter you raised, I think, is extremely important.
Exactly.
But-
And
but-
let me sorry, Mr. Jota. Let me add this just a conclusion. You see, you realize that people there's a lot sense of pride in this nation, or you ask a lot of young people what they want to do if they see something wrong. Nobody's thinking about that. You think about how well we utilize the opportunities like the Independence Month. I mean, some media houses try to do a lot more, but do we take the opportunity to imbibe in people the fact that we are bequeathed with these resources? We have to do something about it. We are responsible and accountable for these things, and the sustenance of the nation going forward into the future is important. I mean, how Gimpa, for example, we grew up hearing all the great things about why Gimpa was set up. Are public institutions being trained there, or it's not just commercial? I mean, these are important things we need to ask ourselves. That's why I believe that sometimes you depend on what sort of engagements you do with government, or the state actors. You might realize that there are institutions that like to act perhaps more independently. Whereas if they realize that their overlapping roles is an advantage for them to integrate to sort of resolve something, would have had much more sharper solutions to some of these things. But we're not considering some of these things, and it's worrying for me. But
some say that the Minerals Commission is very powerful in the scheme of things in terms of giving of licenses to these institutions who are.
That's the easier part. That's the easier part. I mean, there are complaints.
How are you monitoring them?
Exactly. So there's a great and let me say this: the CEO, the current CEO, I think is doing. I've been hearing him on radio and stuff. I think he's doing a good job, trying to sort of look at certain issues that perhaps hitherto were not looked at properly. But I believe that if we want this country to work, it's also important that we spend the resources strengthening these institutions. Obama said this to us.
Yes.
And I think it's playing out right in front of us.
Okay, great.
The political system should stop the situation where a new government comes in and we clear everybody and bring new people in. We should leave them in there because they have institutional capacity. They have institutional knowledge and give them the power
and institutional memory as well.
Exactly, to do what they have to do. Is going into forest areas, isn't it against the law? Why would Forestry Commission give somebody a license to go and mine in forest area when it's against the law?
Prospecting. They say it is prospecting.
Whatever the case is, it's against the law.
Okay, so I'm coming to Nikwapo now, but just before I do that, Samuel Ofosuba says that good morning to you, Wilberforce, and your panelists. The kind of politicking and journalism that are being practiced in our jurisdiction is so ignoble. So I think ignoble. That's the word, right? Yeah, ignoble. Okay, so ignoble and horrendous. And it says that citizenry take no research out of the pending information to get the accuracy before reacting to, just because of someone's gaining a political advantage. This makes our country as sitting on a timing bomb, or perhaps maybe a time bomb. So he says that politicians and journalists need to bring to the public domain information that we need to build and to challenge our citizenry to positively building ourselves and the beloved country Ghana. So Ghana is bigger than any other person. Parochial interest. Our nation, okay, so I should say our national anthem denotes that. So Ghana is bigger than any other person's parochial interest. Our national anthem denotes that. And that's Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo doing a lot of grammar and a lot of analysis and all that. Thank you, Ofosu-Ampofo, as usual. Yes, so and then okay, so we also have Frimpong, who is greeting Nick Papo, who is yet to talk. But we played former President Mohammed's voice earlier. We have former current President Akufo-Addo's voice talking about his position on the issues of Galamsey. Let's just take a listen to them before I come to Nick Papo for him to make his argument, looking at what his presumed presidential candidate has said, what the sitting president has said, and whether or not we are really fighting the Galamsey fight together as a country.
Well, we don't have a voice from President Kufuor.
President Kufuor. Yes. We'll search for it.
Yes,
So here is President Akufo-Addo talking about the issues of Galamsey.
I've said it in the cabinet, and perhaps it's the first time I'll be saying it in public. I am prepared to put my presidency on the line on this matter. I've heard it being said that I should be careful. Many of these people voted for me, and if I continue this exercise, perhaps they will not vote for me again. If by the grace of God I'm in a position, my party allows me to go again, and I have the health and everything to go again, that I'll not get it again. And I'll say to myself, well, this is a choice that all of us have to make as human beings. You do what you think is right, or do you do what you think will allow you to get along? I think that you do what you think is right. That is what you're required to do.
All right, so that's the President Akufo-Addo there. This was before the 2020 elections, and he makes an emphatic statement that he's been saying it in cabinet, but he is now going to say it in public, and that is that he's putting his presidency on the line to fight Galamsey. And he says that people have even told him that backdoor, you have to be very careful because the people you are trying to quote unquote fight, they voted for you, so it might affect you politically. Mr. Prempka has disclosed that, look, in the 2020 elections, the fight against Galamsey did affect the MPP party. And he says the evidence of it is the member of parliament in those areas who lost their seats. Hitherto, they would have easily won the seat. So let me come to you, Nee. We are longing to hear your voice.
Just before Nee comes in, for the benefit of, Nee and the rest who were into when I said it, based on this voice, I said, and I'm still saying, that let others also make a declaration.
Yes. In fact, you did. Yes.
About this.
Yes, you did. Other persons who are seeking to occupy the highest office of the land, yes, they should be just emphatic. Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Make it.
See,
We are seeing.
One thing saying it, one thing doing it.
Let all of them say it.
It's a start.
It's a start.
see,
Let all of them say it.
Okay, Nee.
I keep telling you that, and people don't credit us on this platform for setting the agenda for the nation. When we have our discussions here, the world listens. And all the activities this week have been from our table here. We should be giving credit.
Yes. I was going to ask you about your petition to. I will ask you all those things.
They must credit this show. Now, you see, there's a problem. The president is suffering from a problem of credibility. See, I will start the history of this matter again. The president had the goodwill of every single Ghanaian when he launched the anti-Galamsey operation. Indeed, the former Minister for Lands and Forestry in the NDC government, what is his name? Lawyer Fuseni. Musa Fuseni actually stated, much to the anger of even some NDC members, that this is the first time that a minister is receiving proper presidential support in an attempt to deal holistically with the issue of Galamsey. I am a lawyer. I have clients who are in the mining value chain and environment, the ecosystem. I can tell you on authority that everybody who had a small scale mining license felt the heat when the ban was put in place and when Operation Vanguard started. They were merciless. There was no discrimination. Because according to the mining guys, the instructions, the soldiers, when they come, they don't ask you anything. They were not interested in any explanations. You understand? They were not interested in any explanations. What they were interested in was whether you were mining by a water body. You were supposed to be a certain feet away from the water body. You were not supposed to be engaged in the mining because there was a cease order on all small-scale mining. So when they come and they see any activity whatsoever connected with mining, they were to burn the tractors and excavators or whatever. They draw what they have to draw away. But at some point, they started burning the engines. They were arresting. They were prosecuting. So it enjoyed the support of everybody. And the results began to show. The water bodies started to clean up. Where did we go wrong?
The Chinese came back.
The Chinese came back. Same old problems. The political authorities in the party machinery and things, started fighting the government. What the local people began
You
to
mean they
see,
started fighting their own
they
government?
started fighting their own government. What did you begin to see? Concessions that had been seized or licenses that were supposed to be given in the community law. Remember that it was a holistic program. One, they were supposed to stop all small-scale mining. Two, they were supposed to review the licensing regime. Three, they were supposed to take stock. And four, they were supposed to introduce community mining to replace what was going on with mercury-free machinery distributed by the state. I think the only point that we should have added was to have the state take over the whole issue. And that's one of the things I have been advocating, that to ensure accountability, we should establish a state corporation to take stock of small-scale mining and have other interventions that I think on another forum or another platform we can add
So
to
they
that.
work for government. Anybody
For
who
gov-
goes into
exactly, you see, so we can account for the proceeds and all that. So, Mr. President, I think in my heart of heart meant well, but the people who were put in charge of the thing, the people who are on the local ground, and the forces that are involved in this small scale mining thing,
The human nature of avarice.
no, you see, the president should have taken personal charge of this operation.
And he appointed
No,
an
you see,
interministerial committee on
you see,
on
when
illegal
you
mining.
see, when you say that I'm staking my presidency on something, you understand? Remember, the Osajifo used to retain some ministries for himself. People don't know that all the ministers are simply exercising a portion of the president's power.
It is his.
Do you understand?
Executive.
Aha.
All
So
his. He just decides that.
when it comes to something like this, where you have decided that this is something I am personally putting my presidency on the line. See, because what has happened is that the people who have been put in charge of these things have disgraced the president. And today, the president is personally being accused of being a beneficiary
The leader.
of Galamsey. It's a very sad, for him. When I read the letter that was written to Al Jazeera, I saw that the president was pained by the statement. This is the first time I've seen the president write and demand the retraction of something that has been said about him. I can trace a number of allegations that have been made against him in all manner of. But for the president to direct that this thing be written to the international media house that published it meant that the thing has hurt him.
And it means that he takes it very seriously.
It has hurt him.
When I read it,
Do you understand?
Yes.
Do you understand? And it is because you see, I keep saying that sometimes, even as compared to the same problem that we have with Ken Ofori-Atta managing our finances, the president must be bold to sacrifice some people. You see, it is part of being president. You understand? Some people started the journey with you. You understand? But it is not everybody that will end the journey with you. And I think that was one of the things that President D.A.W. Kufuor was able to do. I think the word D.A.W., the name D.A.W. was part of this thing. You know,
I can tell you a history of that.
well,
where it came from.
you see, remember when he dealt with his national security minister? Oh, the bro, and whatever. He still sacked him.
That was unbelievable.
He still sacked him.
Francis Poku,
He
yes.
still sacked him.
It was at the tail end of the presidency.
Yes, we had all manner of stories. Those who know the inside stories know. And who sat in what arbitrations and what have you. But whatever it is, at the end of the day, he still sacked him. I think that is one of I think President Nana Addo is a very decisive leader. But his indecision in the fight against Galamsey has cost him reputation, has cost him credibility, and may ultimately cost him the
His legacy.
ability to be able to move the MPP
Legacy.
to break the. Because you see, this issue, it goes beyond politics.
Absolutely.
When you see, and I'll keep telling people that when I went to secondary school, we used to live in cantonments. Water in cantonments here at the time, the 90s, you could fill the Coca-Cola bottle. We used to fill it
You drink it.
and we put it in the fridge and we drink.
Drink it.
That's how we're all drinking.
Do you understand? That was nothing like bottled water. That was our bottled water. I am challenging even the president to pour water from the Jubilee House and drink it straight. Come on national television, president. Pour water from the taps of the Jubilee House and drink it yourself. He can't do it. That is the level of devastation we have caused to our environment. And that is why everybody, whether MPP, NDC, when it comes to the issue of Galamsey, everybody is watching. Everybody is commenting. This whole week, it has revived the debate because everybody now realizes that it is an existential threat.
But it's still being politicized, Nee.
You forget
That's
about the
what people are
politics.
saying.
I'm saying that the reason why it cuts across, do you understand? It cuts across everywhere. Is the fact that everybody realizes that whether you are NDC or MPP, this thing, if we don't take care, within the next 10 to 15 years, we will be importing water.
And it also increases plastic pollution
I'm coming there.
because of the
I'm coming.
water not being
You see,
fit to drink.
the adverse effect of Galamsey
It spreads.
is far-reaching. It has health issues. Do you understand?
Strange diseases can even hit us.
And you see, whatever you do, if you access Ghana water, even if you don't drink Ghana water,
You use it
you
to
use
bath.
it to brush your teeth.
You use it to bath.
You use it to bath. You use it to cook. You use it to wash. So everybody, that's why I'm saying that it has become an election issue because it is not about the corruption part per se. It's about the fact that you can't divorce yourself from its effects as a person. So you yourself consciously, unconsciously begin to debate in your mind that, hey, a same way, whether I like it or not, I have to pay attention to it.
Can I give you an example?
Yes.
I bought one of these, these bamboo
Uh-huh.
plants, the one that is scaled.
Mm-hmm.
I bought about 3.
Mm-hmm.
I put it in a vase and then I watered it with tap water. After 2 months, it died. I went to buy another. I just wanted to do a test. I went to buy another one and I started using bottled water. It's still alive.
Now let me go on to the next example
Still
outside.
alive.
Our secondary schools. How many of us here sitting with this table, we are different generations, went to secondary school with bags of water?
I did.
Those of us here sitting here, none of our generations went to school with bags of water. Today, you cannot send your child to boarding school without providing him with water to drink and to bath. The water supply in the schools is polluted. Why? We used to drink water from school. I never even imagined that I would take water. I need to take water to school.
They will even laugh at you
We were bathing.
and even beat you.
Even borehole water
But
in the
they'll
schools
beat
was
you.
clean. Presec. Borehole water was clean. I went to
Your hand
Presec.
underneath the tap and then you use your hand as a...
I like what Charles just did.
Yes.
It reminds me
That
of a lot of
that
things.
is why for those of us who are in this generation and who have children, we have a responsibility not to fail the next generation. Other than that, the next generation will not come and meet. If you tell them that the River Pra and this thing was a certain color, they will tell you are lying. They will tell you are lying.
But most
Is it-
seriously, is polluting other countries
Yes.
in the sub-region.
Yes.
It is a search for money, I'm told.
It is.
And
you
that
see,
we have to choose
we
between
can't- no, it
the
can
search
not
for
be
money,
search
for money.
and the
It's a
protection of
search
the
for
environment.
greed.
Listen.
Search for greed.
small scale mining per se is not bad.
No, it's not.
It is the manner and the method, the unsustainable way we are going about it. People have been mining, small scale mining has been there. But what have we done? We have
the world, not
added,
only Ghana.
we have added chemicals. So we have to take strong legislative and administrative decisions in order for us to stop it. And I think it can be done.
And enforcement.
But we need to take stock. And that is why it dovetails into the calls for a probe into what has happened. We need to take stock. Because money has been spent. Public money has been spent on Operation Vanguard, Operation Galam Stop, and what have you. People have died. Major Mahama, among others. So that is why I am happy the MP has filed a petition as charged. Ghana Integrity Initiative has also indicated that this week they are also filing with the Office of the Special Prosecutor and charge. there are calls for a bipartisan commission of inquiry. That one I know it will not see the light of day, because I don't expect the parliamentary one to see the light of day, because I know the parliamentarians now, some of them are involved. I don't expect the presidential one to see the light of day, because the president has indicated that it is personal grievances by somebody. At least I am of the firm opinion that I know Shraj will do the public hearings.
Who has gone to question Asante Hene? What did Asante Hene say? He said some of you sitting
He
here.
said 90%,
90% of you.
the people who are...
Wasn't that a trigger for security service to go and sit with Asante Hene and fish those people out?
But they know.
Who did it?
The people know. There's this joke about
We have all failed.
one politician said, after the president and his team went around some places, after they left the chief's place, a particular chief's place, the chief called that politician and said, but the president, he's talking about fighting Galamsey. The people who are the key piece of the Galamsey are the people within his, who came to visit him as the chief. See,
So I am Wilberforce. You keep saying Mr. Ohime. No, you keep saying Mr. Ohime. Ohime is the producer. I am Wilberforce. Yes.
Sorry. Wilberforce, sorry about that. I'm mixing the two of you. See, I so much admire the way my brother is handling issues this morning. I must commend him.
Yes.
All of us, we appear to be stranded. But he's used the right word. Greed.
yes, avarice.
Look, in my area, I went to and saw a young man. He alighted from a V8
Yes.
guarded by 3 boys. 3 macho boys.
Material.
Recently, I'm not talking about. He alighted from the V8 guarded by 3 boys with a sack. When he goes to sit in any beer bar, the owner is excited.
Yes.
You know what, the way he does? He has no license, he has nothing. He's wrecking and destroying the environment with impunity to make the money. He has several houses.
You know what?
And he's living large.
You look.
He's
You know what is
Maintain
happening?
it.
People are talking about school. He just calls them and tells them, "Oh, but all of you here, I can pay you."
See,
What are you getting from
you know,
this?
you know what the dangerous mix that is going to happen?
giving you what it
This,
does.
you know why the fight, if it doesn't take strong political will, we can't succeed. Now they know that they can enter into politics. They either can fund the candidates of both
Or
parties,
they'll do it themselves.
or they'll do it themselves.
Absolutely.
Which means that once they are in charge of your political affairs, who is going to fight
Who's going to
Galamsey?
fight them?
Mix that with the nothing. See, we are not watching Burkina Faso. There's something happening
Criminals get
In-
in, we are dead.
in Burkina Faso which is gradually coming to our border.
Serious, oh.
Filtering down.
Now,
It's so serious.
the traders are not able to trade through to use Burkina Faso as a trading route anymore because they are being attacked. The securities,
Just last week, you didn't
yes,
see what happened.
the
Just
security,
19 articulated vehicles loaded
the
with
sec-
onions.
yes.
All of them from Agada in Niger.
So it
They were
means,
bent by the rebels. And they were all coming to Accra.
and it means that gradually and slowly they are moving down. One of the security experts has identified the fact that if they know that they can fund the activities from the gold mines that we have, Upper East, Upper West, and this thing, they are going to come towards our border. Mix Galamsey with terrorist threat. I don't want to use Islamic because
Porous border.
porous borders.
Porous
We
border.
have a dangerous mix on our hands. We are better take control of this situation and take control of it effectively. My prayer is that Shraj will do a thorough work. For me, as I said it, when I presented the petition on behalf of the Honorable Roxin, that Shraj is our last hope. If they cannot do a thorough work, hold people accountable, do serious recommendations, and force the guy, civil society will not force this government to pass correct legislation and reignite the fight against corruption. In this particular fight that we have in Galamsey, we are doomed. As a country,
When he's
And as an economy.
Shraj will be limited to the report. That's why
yes.
I have been advocating.
no, you see, at least no, see,
Okay,
they can.
I pull the microphone towards you so that you can relax. No, not that way. Hold on.
You see where the Broadcasting Act comes into this.
Oh yes.
The Broadcasting Act is instrumental.
See, my point is this. You see, people think that Shraj's mandate. No, I disagree. See, Shraj can do. See, Shraj is deemed or seen by most people to be independent. You understand? If the president sets up a commission, and largely the persons who are the commissioners are not seen to be independent-minded people, we will criticize that commission. If Parliament sets up a bipartisan of Parliament until they hold the COVID hearings, I don't even take what they are doing with much seriousness. But at least Sraj has a reputation. And if they are able to conduct these hearings and allow everybody, the small scale miners, the persons who have been accused, everybody should come. They should hold these hearings even in the towns that are affected by this money and get the necessary information, put the report together, make the necessary recommendations. And we as a country, a civil society, refuse to put pressure on the presidency or whoever they recommend and whatever actions they recommend so that we can restart this, because at least now you can see that all media houses, everybody is talking about Galamsey. It means we know it is a problem.
But Sraj will require a lot of resources to be able to do what you are saying.
They will do it.
Do they have the resources?
They will do it. They will do it. They will find it. They will find it.
Are you sure that we'll not find the Galamsey people finding a way to go and finance this thing?
Oh, then we are finished. At least they have infiltrated the political elite.
That one they have.
Let us at least give Sraj. Let us at least give Sraj the benefit of the doubt. Now, if they are able to find Sraj, then go.
If you look at the political class, a number of them, when they are commenting on Galamsey, their mouths are very.
They are
inarticulate. Some of them suddenly become stammers.
From
They
both
become
sides.
stammers. From both sides of the divide. They become stammers and all that suddenly. And it's all because they are soiled. You see, the thing, it's so attractive.
Somebody said, what
so
political
attractive.
operative said, my last one, what political operative said, the documents he has about both NDC and MPP, when he mounts in the podium and he releases it, doomsday.
You should release it.
Then you know who I'm talking about.
You should release it.
So all of us, to be honest with you, you see that on the table, we are unanimous. All of us, we are unanimous on this matter. You see, perhaps, as I have said, we have been joking with the issue as a country. And you see, it's because Frimpong Boateng's report came up. That's why we seem to be reigniting the debate.
Quiet.
But it looks like we have gone quiet over the time.
Yes.
Look, just last week, after this report, we started seeing the water from the pra on social media.
Someone
Did it
went
just
to
happen
fetch-
last week?
Someone went to fetch 2 bottles of it.
Two bottles.
GTV.
Did it just happen last week? I think it has been. And you see, watch. What we are likely to do is we will go with Galamstop to that area. And then we make sure that we clear everybody. And within a week or two,
They'll come back.
then we go away and then they come back. We must engage in sustainable means. You see, sometimes we may even have to psych the people up to take ownership of the fight.
Sacking the people up.
Yes, psych them up to take ownership of the project.
We even have to build settlements for those who would protect the water bodies.
Absolutely.
So that if for nothing at all, when they get there, they are comfortable where they are and they want to do the job.
You
And
see,
it calls for more investment.
all of us have
Where is
said
the
it,
plan?
you
Where
know,
is the plan?
one thing about life is that power is so sweet. It's so attractive that nobody wants to lose it. So if there's a slightest shout that where you are going, you will lose power, the brakes are pulled.
You see, Wilbur,
It's a fact.
Nee was talking about. Nee was talking about President
As I listen
Kufuor.
to all of you, I keep getting disturbed because it looks like we talk about, we try to paint a picture that there is hope, but we come back to paint the picture that, quite frankly, there is no hope. So that
There's hope. There's hope. There's hope.
There's hope.
But it's a leadership thing.
Give us the hope.
Nee was talking about. Nee was talking about President Kufuor, or was it Honorable Penka? Was talking about President Kufuor taking action. Look, my father used to tell me, Osajifo had his own people. If he hears something, he gets his own people to go out there to investigate. They bring him the information. And woe betide you, if Osajifo calls you and asks you, and you lie, 2:00 news,
you'll be fired.
you'll be fired.
But you
And
know,
that is the kind of leadership I'm expecting the president to do. You've heard it. Okay, have your own inner circle to investigate.
okay.
Once
So
they
but
give you
but
the
know,
information, move with it.
Charles makes a statement that I think we should interrogate it a little bit more. That has to do with the institutional strengthening, and he makes a comparison: Bank of Ghana being regulator of the banking sector, Cocoa Board being a regulator of the cocoa sector, and you would see that there is some kind of evidence of compliance and control because of the regulator. In the mining industry, as we have it, who are the regulators?
Sometimes the regulator goes overboard without us knowing.
Oh, but
The regulator, but they
let's-
go overboard.
Let's assume that they do.
It's not to assume. You see, it is your actions that will give confidence for the people to believe in what you're doing.
But
But
Mr.
if you're the regulator and you're supposed to do certain things, then later we hear, oh, you've done things that are untoward. How do we have confidence in you?
Okay,
That
but
building of confidence is key.
it's key. Okay, but I'm saying that in the and I'll start with you, Penga. In the mining industry, as we have right now, if we wanted a regulator, I know we'll talk about Minerals Commission, Water Resources Commission, Forestry Commission, but can we point to just one regulator in the sector who has all the powers to ensure that they regulate this industry? Can we point to any such?
No, we have enough statutory regulations and we have enough statute actually to guide that. And in fact, there are bodies that can actually carry out all that we are talking about. I think that what we have is just institutional failure. That's my candid opinion. Because if you look at the Minerals Commissions Act, it's very clear. If they don't license you, you have no business mining. So what do we then need to do? We need to go out there and ensure that all those who are not licensed and they are practicing it, we let the law take its course. But you remember, as I said at the beginning, sometimes some of these people are arrested, taken to court. The court remands them while the case is being tried. The next moment, the police will come and say that, oh, they are discharging the accused persons. Probably because somebody has called from the top.
Another institutional problem.
That's the problem. You know, we don't allow even independent institutions to act independently. And he mentioned about His Excellency the President and all that. After the declaration he made, does he not need people to support him achieve it? He himself is not going to be able to carry out all that he promised he was going to do. He's going to get people to carry it out. And then imagine all the allegations flying around. Anybody who goes into that institution to fight Galamsey, the next moment the person is being accused. Compromise.
Exactly.
You know, left, right, center. And as I told you earlier, it appears to be so attractive that even the so-called principled persons in society, when they get into the system to fight it, they fall victim to becoming members of that gang. So what is it that is making it so attractive? You know, probably because, as I said, it's a low-hanging fruit. Somebody is working in a government institution, and the moment, of course, you know they are supposed to work in all honesty, you go and steal government's money, you are in trouble. You're going to be imprisoned. So the person now uses his position to say that because I want, and we are coming back to the word Mr. Jantua used, greed. Because I want to have more money and I cannot steal from government. So what do? Let me go into illegal mining and use my powers to protect people to do it. Then you go and see the level of devastation, and it's being sponsored by, sometimes somebody will go and sit in a meeting discussing ways of combating, what was it? Galamsey. And then the person is part of it. So immediately after the meeting, he calls his cohorts and tells them that, look, we've met and discussed ABCD. So the best way we can go about circumventing is to go through this
in
other
fact,
way.
while the meeting is going on,
Yeah, messages are sent out.
the people outside will be listening
They are listening
in the meeting.
And so you are fighting against a system, and the person who is supposed to be fighting against the system is part of the system.
The system that you are trying to fight.
So it's so endemic.
You will not be able to fight
You won't
it.
be able to fight it.
Do you think that we need a Ghana mining authority?
More institutions. Creation of amorphous.
So what the reason
Just
why
to inundate ourselves with debt.
Well, this is how I'm going to answer this question. You know, I've increasingly become very aware that going forward, one of the main challenges for leadership of this country and for all of us is not necessarily an issue about just infrastructure and money and all the hardware issues we talk about. There's really a software issue we have to look at. You know, the soft issues, the intangibles, the way we think, the way we appreciate certain issues, the way we feel about our country. Mr. Janto used the word patriotism, you know, profits versus conscience, you know, all these issues. It's perhaps even a greater problem that we're going to face beyond just the corruption and the Galamsey issues we are talking about.
To the ordinary man who
Because-
is listening, or to the ordinary man who will hear what you are saying, they'll say this is a lot of grammar because they will say the practical thing. We want money in our pockets.
so-
But what you are saying is real. It's
Exactly.
true. I agree with you.
Exactly.
But the ordinary Ghanaian says that we want to fill it in our pockets. Stop all this plenty grammar.
You know,
How are we going to deal with that?
that's why we're all saying around the table that it's not as easy a fight as we think it is, because the way we think and the way we support these kind of issues, whether we are just saying it's as lip service or whether we really mean it, whether we are able to sort of ward off the temptation or whether we are actually able to surmount it. These are the challenges. For example, we are talking about Nita spoke eloquently about the president's commitment and the success of the fight, at one point or the other. Money has gone into it, plans have been drawn up and effected and everything like that. Earlier when I was telling you, Wilberforce, that if you think about the fact that a lot of plans are drawn up, but we are overrun by events, because it's the very people that we expect to execute these mandates that we give them that sort of are not able to get to work these things through. We're talking about perhaps the president finding a way of, verifying things for himself. It's in that spirit that, the interministerial, sort of committee was set up. People that the president would expect that would tell him what it is and.
In fact, majority of them cabinet ministers.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, I could advocate that there could be another team also personal to the president to do the verification, like Mr. Gento was suggesting. Let's take the monitoring team, for example, in the presidential team at the Jubilee House, for example. It will take people with resolve, people who are absolutely given to seeing this nation succeed.
Sacrifice.
Who can sacrifice. That's why I talk about the software. That's why I talk about the soft issues. That's why I talk about issues relating to patriotism, critical thinking, sacrifice, how we feel about our country, because it's going to be the bridge that will help us cross this problem, because we can pump in more money, we can pump in more plans, we can put in, ultimately it's not robots that are going to deal with this, it's human beings. And if the human beings are not going to support the president in this fight, if the persons who will be put in charge, if the authority, like you're suggesting, the minor authority you're suggesting, if the persons who are going to go in there do not understand that they are a state institution and their first mandate or their primary mandate is to the people, is to see the water resources and the land and all of that, claim back, things done properly. We'll be here talking about this.
Indeed. So, do we need a mining authority?
Wilberforce, this is why when I came, I told you about the human capital development strategy. You know what? The DG of NDPC, he was telling us that they have looked from the First Republic throughout till now in terms of the infrastructure we've built, in terms of some of the things we've done, in terms of the monies we've spent. The one factor that we haven't been able to conquer is the mindset of the people.
I'm saying.
The mindset of the people. And they've realized that mindset has put us in a certain position where things aren't working. So now we've got to be able to tackle that mindset. But then how do you tackle that mindset? If the people who you want to change that mindset do not understand the system and feel money is the ultimate. How? It takes everybody. And I would always point at the media. I point at the media. You're not a political institution. Yes, you have politicians who own media stations. That should stop. Because if you have a politician who has a media station, is involved in Galamsey, do you think he wants Galamsey to stop? He will come to his media station and encourage you to talk about it, but he's in there and he's monitoring. He's monitoring. But the media should be able to go deep into this Galamsey thing and bring the issues out for the people to listen. Because remember, when the people have nowhere to go, where do they go to? The media. If somebody is going through some hardship today, they'll walk through this door and say, Mr. Wilberforce, please, I need to say this thing. And it's the media that becomes the mouthpiece. So the media has a huge role to play. That's why when the media took this Galamsey thing on, look at how it escalated.
Do you
Look at
think that the media is joining the politics of it instead of doing the real issues involving Galamsey?
No. The main challenge of the media is the fact that they are not paid well. They are not given the right resources and are not paid well to be able to execute what they have to execute. Look at those stations where the media are paid well. See what they can do. Because the media is like any other person. The media person is like any other person. He has a family to take care of. He might have an extended family to take care of. He has issues and responsibilities that everybody needs. But he has a special responsibility because it's the media who can go and stand in front of the president and ask the questions the people want to hear. I can't do it. So the position of the media in this Galamsey thing is key. And for me, that's where the president should start from.
Okay. Do we need a Ghana mining authority who will have responsibility to do all the licensing?
Sorry. We have all the laws. For me, it's the implementation of these laws.
What I think exists is that it is scattered. So if you are going to mine, you need to go to the Environmental Protection Agency, you need to go to the Forestry Commission, you need to go to the Minerals Commission, you need to go to so many places to get your licensing to be able to operate. But some are suggesting that, for example, if you want to open a bank, which is a very important institution, you have the licensing authority. All other things that you need, you go to one source, you get all of it. In the mining sector, it's scattered, and so that even in itself might encourage corruption because you have to go for one aspect.
You revised your initial position on this matter, and you are now making a statement that I agree with. This was not initially how you put it, but this your approach. I now agree with you. You think that we have scattered all the institutional approvals at different locations, making things very difficult. So let's consolidate it and just make it one institution. I think I agree with you. You win if you want the debate. Absolutely. That is how we should do it. And put the right people there. You see, that again will have to come to the psyche. Because if you put the people there and they get used to the system and they begin to abuse it, we will come back to the same thing.
Where your forestry commissioner is the one giving out the
credits. See, Wilberforce, some of the pieces of evidence are frightening. Some of the pieces of evidence, and that is exactly what I said earlier, that we unanimously supported. That people are in meetings planning things, and then already the information is out there.
Look at this one.
No, I saw it.
There's a ban.
I don't want to go there. I'm disabled because the one who is being accused is no more. So, I mean, that is why I don't want to talk about it. If he were alive, I have something that I would have said about
killing the fight. If you do the wrong thing, he follows you into death.
No, so, but I don't want to comment about some things that somebody does not have the opportunity to
whatever it is.
You see, interestingly, if you listen to us here, myself, my brother, we have relationship even outside of this studio, the two of us. And then my big brother, who I have missed so much, he says he misses me.
And he's also studying as a presidential candidate.
and then you are meeting. Are you meeting him for the first time?
For the first time that we're meeting. You see, if you listen to this, and I think that if all media houses have panel going the same tangent, we may be going somewhere. It appears that there is hypocrisy. Hypocrisy because some of the things that are indefensible, we defend them. And I think that also feeds into what is going on. If it cannot be defended, let's be unanimous and say that it cannot be defended. I just read something, I'm not too sure, but from here I'm going to call the person. I just read that my good friend Nana Kumia disagreed with the statement issued from the presidency, responding to the Professor Frimpong Boateng's report. He disagreed with it. And he said that the wording that came from the president's office would tie the police hands from doing any better investigation since there were already conclusions from the president's office. You know, that it was personal grievances and all that. This is somebody who is part and parcel of government. I'm not even a government appointee, as I said, but he is part of the government and he's bold enough to speak out his mind.
In fact, currently he is the one in charge of the vaccine efforts.
Yes.
So Professor Frimpong Boateng is no longer in mainstream government as in being a minister, but he is the one in charge of that vaccine authority. I think it is an act of parliament that establishes it.
Yes.
The National
But you
Vaccine
can't do away with Professor Boateng.
The point is that he is a man of his own class and standard. There's no doubt about it. Taking out his political appointment he's gotten, taking it out and leaving him as an individual. His achievements probably in my candid opinion, is unmatched.
Yes, not only in Ghana.
I mean, we if we are going to credit the treatment of our hearts and other related diseases here in Ghana, we know who is in charge of that. We know how he sacrificed his life to be able to do that. So that's why if you look at some of his the parts of the report, he gets emotional. Yeah. He thinks that some people, by virtue of who he is, some people are not competent enough to say the things they are saying about him. He gets emotional along the line. And I think he's informed by who he is from history. There's no dispute about who the caliber of person we are talking about is. But the point that is significant that we continue to make is, Mr. Wilberforce, again, let me make this point very clear. Me, I was a parliamentary candidate. I won in 2016. I lost in 2020. And by grace, I'm coming back in 2024.
Amen.
Now, if you look at the politics we're talking about, let's say I'm going to do the campaign. Some small-scale miners who are doing illegal mining. I organize fundraising, and they come around with their Land Cruisers and big pickups and put together 1 million and say, lawyer, take this and help yourself. When you win, don't forget about us. When you win, if you want to do the right thing, it has to take a person of fortitude, principle, to be able to look at them in the face and say that you helped me to go to parliament, but you didn't help me to go to parliament to do the wrong thing. And you will have to agree that next time they won't support you anyway. Mm-hmm. But if they go for another ally and he does the same to them, the things will change.
Exactly.
But if all that you do is after you have compromised or they have given you this support, which is good for your campaign and you've won elections, you go to parliament and you are dancing to their tune, then we've lost it. And you know, they are so powerful. Senior, we can go and sit in our offices for days on end and no consultation fee will even come on the table. But they make money daily. Hourly. Some of them, what they make a day probably will be my legal fees for several months. Or even a year.
Yeah.
And then so they meet you and they look you in the face and tell you that they have money than you. Yes, they don't hide it. They can pay you.
With all your
one of my friends complained to me that a guy entered his office and then he looked at the way the guy dressed. He didn't even want to see him. A lawyer. The guy was a Galamsey. He was looking for a lawyer. And his dressing was so sharp. I mean, unappealing to the eye. The lawyer, he just didn't want to listen to the guy. The guy insisted, I want a lawyer. He said, I'm not. Then he said, okay. So he decided that he was going to tell him something. So he just quoted a figure. A very crazy figure to scare the guy. And he opened a polythene and gave him the money.
Right.
Then the lawyer said, oh, that's part of the money because I was going to tell him that when I finished. He changed his statement. In other words, some of them, it is crazy. And you see them. That's the point.
He has given him a money shot.
You've gone through all the school. There's no school he hasn't gone to. Presec, Legon, Ghana School of Law, JJ, what and what. And then Opana goes to sit somewhere. Within an hour, he can pay you.
He has gone to Harvard. Harvard. He
graduated at Harvard. I mean, so within an hour, he can pay you. And then they will speak, and you cringe, my brother. You can't believe it. What they will tell you.
You start questioning yourself.
Question yourself whether you even did the right thing. Whether you did the right thing by going
to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about the defamation suit that has been filed, and then we'll dovetail that into the appointment of Justice Tokonu as the new CJ and all that. So we are taking a quick break. When we are back from the break, we will talk about the defamation suit that has been filed by Gabi Asare-Ochodako. It will be 2 minutes of conversation on that. And then we will talk about Justice Gettu Tokonu before we end the show. So this is Asase Radio 99.5, and we are coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. You can hear us in Cape Coast. Cape Coast is 100.3, in Kumasi is 98.5, and in Tamale is 99.7. Stay tuned. We are back shortly after this break.